This burnt piece of silk was all he had left of her. For 30 years, billionaire David Thorne carried it in his pocket. The woman who saved his daughter from the inferno vanished into the night. No name, no thank you, just a ghost. He built an empire, but his real life's work wasn't on the stock market. It was here, scanning the faces of the forgotten, searching for one face. Tonight, a storm is coming, and with it a final clue. A social worker's email about an elderly homeless woman, found with severe pneumonia, and a locket. Inside that locket was a picture of him, from a summer 40 years ago, a summer before the fire, before he was a CEO, before she was homeless, a summer they were in love. Anna didn't know what she'd found. She was just doing her job. A Jane Doe critical pulled from the streets. The locket was for identification, but the man in that photograph, he wasn't just anyone. He was David Thorne, a name on skyscrapers, a face on business magazines. What was his picture doing next to the heart of a dying woman who owned nothing? For David, the world stopped. The email subject was standard: possible ID for Jane Doe, St. Vincent's. The body was a request he'd made to every hospital for years. But the attached photo, it wasn't a modern security grab. It was that photo, the one taken on the pier at Silver Lake, the summer of 1978. The last summer of his innocence. The photo he thought was lost forever. The woman he'd searched for as a hero was first the woman he'd loved, and lost as a young man. The city blurred. 30 years of searching collapsed into a single, terrifying destination: St. Vincent's. The two mysteries of his life had just violently collided. The disappearance of Margaret O'Connell, the love of his youth, who vanished one day without a trace, and the disappearance of the nameless angel who saved his child. They were the same person, and the guilt, a cold, heavy stone in his gut for decades, now multiplied, mutated. She hadn't just been a stranger performing a miracle. She had been his Maggie, living on the streets, while he lived in the sky. The beep of the heart monitor was the loudest sound in the world. He saw not the frail woman on the bed, but the vibrant girl from the photograph. The girl who loved Van Morrison and hated celery. The girl who wanted to paint the world. How did the canvas become this? His mind screamed the question that would define the rest of his days. What happened to you, Maggie? And why, in God's name, did I not find you sooner? David sat in that sterile room, and the decades dissolved. The guilt of the breakup, a dull ache he'd buried under ambition and success, roared back to life, fresh and vicious. He had let her go. He had chosen the path of least resistance, the gilded cage. And while he built his empire on compromise, her world had evidently collapsed. The question was no longer just where she had been, but how. How did the woman with the brightest smile end up here? To understand the ending, you must go back to the beautiful, broken beginning. David Thorne wasn't always a CEO. He was a law student with more ideals than money. And Maggie O'Connell, Maggie was an artist, not in the pretentious sense. She saw art in rusted fences, in rain on pavement, in the way light hit a diner window at 3 p.m. They met not in a boardroom but in a used bookstore. He was reaching for Whitman. She was pulling down the same copy. Their fingers touched on the spine. "Leaves of Grass," she said, smiling. "It's an omen. It's about connection." He was lost from that moment. They built a universe for two. Her world was color and feeling. His was structure and ambition. But they fit. She taught him to see, he taught her to plan. They talked of a future, his law career, her studio. Maybe one day a family. He gave her that locket on her birthday. "To hold our future," he said. She put the pier photo inside. It was a perfect, fragile bubble. But bubbles, by their nature, are destined to pop. And the pop came from a place David had long ignored. His own family. David was torn in two. The weight of his family's expectation, the financial umbilical cord he'd never cut. It felt like a mountain on his chest. He began to pull away, making excuses, missing dates. Maggie saw the shadow falling over him. She asked, Gently, always gently. "What's wrong, David?" He'd say, "Nothing. Law school stress." But the lie was a third person in the room, sucking the air out. The final fight was in the rain. She found a letter, an internship offer contingent on his personal alignments. "What is this, David? Personal alignments? Does that mean me? Am I a misalignment?" He was angry, defensive. "You don't understand the pressure. It's not that simple." She looked at him with heartbreaking clarity. "It is simple. You choose. The life they've boxed for you, or the one we dreamed together. But you can't have both. And I won't be your secret, David. I won't be the whimsy you visit between real life." Cornered, he said the words, Maybe we need a break, just to let things settle." She gave him a long, final look. She took off the locket, placed it quietly on the table. "It's settled." He left. He told himself it was temporary, a tactical retreat. But when he returned a week later, the apartment was empty. Not just empty of her, empty of everything. She had vanished. Maggie did what broken, proud people do. She ran. Not to punish him, but to save herself from the agony of waiting. She went to the first city the bus could take her to. The money ran out. The waitressing job was grueling. The dream faded, replaced by the arithmetic of survival. The locket stayed around her neck, a beautiful, painful anchor. David's life became a series of transactions. A marriage for stability. A career for validation. His father's approval turned to dust. The only thing that felt real was his daughter, Lily. She had her mother's hair, but she had Maggie's curiosity. In loving Lily, he was loving the ghost of the life he'd thrown away. Disaster doesn't care about your regrets. On October 12, 1993, a spark became an inferno. His daughter was trapped. Fire trucks wailed, but time was burning. As Lily coughed in the smoke, a miracle was walking home from a late shift at a diner, 15 blocks away. Maggie didn't know who lived there. She saw a burning building and heard a rumor a child was inside. That was all. Every hardship, every cold night. None of it mattered. There was a child. Her feet moved before her mind could catch up. Up the stairwell, heat blistering the air. She found the little girl's room. The door was hot. She broke in. Lily was curled under the window, terrified. Maggie scooped her up. "I've got you, sweetheart. I've got you." She saw the child's face, and in that instant, she wasn't a homeless woman. She was a force of nature. Wrapping the child in a wet blanket, she fled. A ceiling beam crashed, blocking the stairwell. She saw the balcony. The fire escape was rusted, collapsed. She held Lily tightly, climbed onto the railing, and leaped onto the adjacent balcony of the neighboring building. A terrifying, gut-wrenching jump. It was a leap of faith. Her muscles screamed, but she held onto that child as if holding onto her own soul. They tumbled onto the cold metal, safe just as their own balcony crumpled into the flames below. On the street, chaos. Maggie, coughing violently, handed a sobbing but alive Lily to a paramedic. In the flashing lights, she looked up. She saw David's car screech to a halt. She saw him, older, but unmistakably David, run towards his daughter. Their eyes met for a single electric second across the crowd. In that moment, the world narrowed to a tunnel. There he was, the man who broke her heart, and in his arms was the child she had just saved. The symmetry was brutal. She saw the dawning, horrified recognition on his face. Not just gratitude, but the shocking realization. Maggie? David, clutching Lily, started to push through the crowd toward her. He shouted her name. Maggie! Margaret! But Maggie, overwhelmed by the past, the present, the smoke, and the sight of him, turned and melted into the labyrinth of dark alleys behind the emergency vehicles. She ran. Again. Not from fire, but from a different kind of pain. To stay would be to unravel everything. She disappeared into the city's veins, a ghost once more. Back in the present hospital dawn, Maggie's eyelids fluttered. David, who had not slept, leaned forward. Her eyes opened, cloudy, confused. They focused on him. A long, silent moment passed. No recognition. Then, a slow, faint softening. Her voice was a dry whisper. "David." His voice broke. "I've been looking for you for 30 years, Maggie." 2 words. A name. It was the first bridge built across the abyss of decades. The first steps back were made of silence and small, gentle sounds. David, who commanded boardrooms, learned a new language. The language of waiting. The language of pouring a glass of water just so. He was trying to build a shore for her to swim to, and slowly Maggie began to surface. On a clear morning, she was more alert. She looked at him. "Lily, is she?" He turned, eyes instantly wet. "She's perfect. She's a pediatric surgeon. She has your courage." He showed a picture. A single tear tracked through the wrinkles on Maggie's cheek. "Good. That's good." David finally spoke the words. "Maggie, I have to say it. I'm sorry. For everything. For being weak. For letting you go. For not finding you after the fire. I looked. I swear to God. I never stopped looking." She closed her eyes, a small, tired sigh. "You weren't supposed to find me, David. Not like that. Not ever." Then, in fragments, she told her story. Not as a tragedy, but as a report. Losing the job, the back injury, the slow slide. She spoke of the cold as a fact like the weather, but she remembered the librarian who let her read, the volunteer who remembered her name. She spoke of protecting younger girls on the streets, of sharing her last blanket. "The world is a painting," she whispered. "I just ran out of canvas." When she mentioned the fire, she grew quiet. "I saw the address. I knew it was you. I almost came to the hospital. But I saw the papers. Millionaire's daughter saved. I was covered in soot. I had no home. What was I going to do? Walk into that shiny lobby and say, 'Hi, remember me?'" David took her hand. "Yes, that's exactly what you should have done." She shook her head. "No, David. You had a life. A child who needed you whole. My showing up? It would have been a ghost at the feast. Problem to be solved. I didn't want to be your charity case. I saved her because she was a child, not because she was yours." Then the door opened, and Lily walked in. She had her father's presence, and David realized with a pang, Maggie's eyes. She went straight to the bedside, knelt down. Her voice was soft with awe. "All my life I've had this image, a face in the smoke, kind eyes. I thought I dreamed it." She looked at Maggie, the woman who saved her life.